Welcome to Mums at the Table. You are here with Rachel and Shona. We've also got with us today the other Rachel, our tech expert. This is the Rachel that's not a tech expert.
So she'll answer all my questions?
She will answer all your questions. You've got to ask them, though.
Oh.
We've got Ask the Doctor, so Dr. Simone is in, and Amanda, our dietitian. But I want to start by asking a question. What are the questions that you shouldn't ask? But there's always those people in, the community that do. What's something you shouldn't ask? Like, I think probably the obvious one is don't ask if you think someone's pregnant. Like, if you don't know, don't ask.
No. Okay. Oh, no.
Some of us haven't fully recovered from pregnancy, so just back off.
Yeah. I'm not a great one for asking too many questions anyway, because
You're pretty blunt. You do ask a lot of questions.
I am, but I tend to used to put my foot in it a lot, so I tend not to ask too many questions now. I either wait for the gossip to get around to me, or I don't ask at all.
See, I was going to say, that's hilarious, because that's actually how it happens. I thought this, but I didn't know. But what are some questions that I guess when you're dating, you get sick of the question, when are you going to get married or get engaged? When are you going to have kids? When are you having a second kid? Like, I know that people are trying to create conversation, and that's good, and sometimes it can be awkward and questions slip out. But there's probably some you should just plan not to ask. And I think the one where are you having kids can be really awkward, especially these days when a lot of people have trouble having kids.
Or they've decided they're not going to have kids.
Yeah, that's a completely different conversation because then, it gets taken in a different direction if you're not having them. Then there's the societal expectations. And those, conversations get adjusted. But what else is there?
Oh, gosh.
So many to choose
from. And so little time.
I know. Look, I think we've got to have a little chat in our heads, in our own heads before.
Think before you speak.
It also depends on the relationship you have with that person. Sometimes you can ask those questions depending on the, the closeness.
My very close girlfriends, I wouldn't be worried about asking any questions because I know they would say to me, back off, that's not for your knowledge, that's mine. But I tend to just hover a lot with not asking too many questions.
Oh, look, I think we all sort of, if you're questioning it, maybe don't ask
it.
But then there's always someone who has no filter, hey? They'll ask everything. And look, I don't want to be rude, but they do provide a lot of entertainment in a conversation.
Yes.
But there are heaps of questions. What are some questions you've been asked that you go, please don't ask that? Let us know on Facebook. Maybe we can educate us and some other people.
They might have some questions they want to ask us.
Oh, do you?
Hey, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our Mums at the Table YouTube channel. I'm sitting here with Dr. Simone. We are talking about postnatal checkups. Why should we go to our postnatal checkup once we've had a baby?
Well, look, having a baby is one of the most physically, mentally, emotionally draining experiences that you can possibly hope to go to.
And that's why I'm like, so why should you go? You've already gone through enough checks and pokes and prods. You've got to go to your postnatal now. Is it 6 weeks after you
Normally
have the baby?
It's about 6 weeks. And I guess from my perspective, this is a really valuable opportunity for you as a mum to say, is everything okay? Has my body done its job and is now returning back to its previous state? And am I coping well from a mental perspective as well?
Yes. I don't think I've ever recovered from any of the pregnancies. I think it's just gotten worse as time has gone on. But what happens in the postnatal checkup?
So what I normally do at a postnatal checkup is we talk about how Mum and Bub are generally going. Are you feeding well? Are you sleeping well? Is baby sleeping well? Is Mum sleeping well? We accumulate hours of sleep and figure out if they're adding up to around about enough.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that. Of course they're not sleeping enough. So what is enough?
Look, it'd be nice to be getting sort of 6-ish hours, 6 to 8 hours of interrupted, obviously, sleep. It's always going to be interrupted in those early days. There's a few physical things that are really important to check up at that 6-week mark as well. Obviously, your body, your uterus has done a massive job of growing and it has to shrink during that time. And so we always check to make sure that the uterus has gone back down into the pelvis, that all of the bleeding has stopped and settled down.
Is it true breastfeeding helps?
Absolutely.
Everything go back into place.
So it helps the breastfeeding hormones that are stimulated when you're feeding your baby help the body to recover.
And that's why it hurts. That's why it hurts when you first breastfeed. You feel pain. That's a good thing. Everything's going back to
You
normal.
can feel everything shrinking back down to where it ought to be. This is when we can assess whether you've had any sort of muscle separation during the course of pregnancy. And what you can safely do to work on that from an exercise point of view, from an activity, from a physiotherapy point of view.
So important
to understand what's safe to do and when. This is also the opportunity if you're not up to date with things like smear tests and those sorts of things to get that off the list and not have to think about it. And if you've had to have any sutures or stitches or checking of a cesarean scar, this is when we make sure that everything is all looking a-okay.
Right. Should there be any concerns if if you haven't stopped bleeding by this time?
Look, ideally you'd want to have had all the bleeding stopped by around about the 2 to 3 week mark, 4 at the outside, and if you're not having that happen, then that's definitely worthwhile flagging with your doctor. Just finally, Fiona, at that sort of 6-week postnatal checkup, that's a really good opportunity if you are feeling like you're struggling with your mental health in that post-baby phase. Don't wait until 6 weeks. Seek help early. The earlier you get some help, the quicker you'll get better.
I'm so glad you said that, Dr. Simone. It's so important to get the help that you need. If you feel like you're feeling depressed or you see a change in a loved one, get professional help. That's the best way to go about it.
Hi everyone, we are back with our dietitian Amanda. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show. We are here actually going to talk about an awesome topic. It's called nuts. Nuts about nuts, sorry. No, it's should we eat nuts every single day? And that is our question to you, Amanda. Should we eat nuts every day?
Yeah, well, the short answer is yes, we should eat nuts every day, or at least most days. And the reason for this is that research has showed us that regularly including nuts in our diet can improve heart health and lower blood cholesterol because of the good healthy fats in nuts, as well as it can reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, as well as assist in blood sugar control. They can also reduce the risk of some types of cancers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Nuts also have anti-inflammatory properties, and they can help with weight management if included with a healthy diet.
With a healthy diet. Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. I love that. I love how it reduces, it could reduce some cancers. And that's interesting.
So they really are a great food to include in your diet. And I think like a lot of people that I see find it interesting that it's able to actually help with weight management as well.
Yes, weight management.
Yeah.
So how much can we eat? Because that's the question. Because I know they're high in calories, right?
Yeah, they are, but they're also really high in protein and fibre, and so they help you to feel fuller for longer.
Okay. Yeah. So how much can we eat?
How much can we eat?
No.
So the recommendations are to have 30 grams a day, and that's this much. So I'll just show you. It's
a good handful.
Yeah.
She's got tiny hands. I'm just saying, don't fill up your hand that much.
So it's really a small handful, is 30 grams a day.
Let's just see how much it is in my hand. My hands are just a bit bigger. So yeah, a small handful, that's cool.
Yeah. And in terms of the type of nuts you can have, it doesn't really matter what types. It's really more important that you are having nuts every day. However, the best, of course, are raw or dry roasted and unsalted nuts. And to just include a selection of different types of nuts every day because they all have different nutrients in them as well.
Yes. And I know some of the mothers watching this, they're probably thinking some of their kids won't have nuts. I know you said before you saw my kids eat it and you thought it was good that they ate nuts.
Yeah, it's great.
So I think we've got some great recipes on our show with where we put almonds and different nut recipes inside, as long as your kids aren't allergic, that is, of course.
Yes, of course.
And you can hide it in a cheese sauce or something like that.
There's so much you can do with nuts. You can throw it on your breakfast in the morning, on top of some yogurt, in a salad, in a stir fry. Make muffins, banana bread with some nuts.
Absolutely.
As well.
I think nuts are important, especially for kids too, because I give my kids lots of nuts. I think it's good. It keeps them healthy. So we are running out of time, but please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mums at the Table. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us for a chat here at Mums at the Table. Rach and I are going to be talking about how to keep our family safe when it comes to being online. I mean, everyone's online unless you are living off the grid, under a rock. You know, so what are some tips that we can take away to keep our kids safe, or keep our families safe?
Yeah, well, recently in the Mums at the Table magazine, Colin Anson wrote an article giving us 6 tips about how to keep our family safe online. And some of them are simple, some of them require a little bit, you know, a little bit more savvy. Right. But most of them revolve around the people that we have around us in our circle. So the first one is to think about sharing selectively. Okay. So if you're sharing, think about the people who you're sharing with. Have conversations with them about your child's images and how you want them shared, what the ground rules are around them. Yeah.
So we should have discussions with other people taking photos of our children and letting them know this is okay or this is not okay. That's a new thing.
I think it's a daunting conversation because I've had to have some of those conversations with family members, and especially when there are other members of the family who don't have these same rules, it seems like you're being the overzealous parent.
But in this day and age, it's so easy for us to post online at family events, special gatherings. You just don't really think about what other parents are thinking for their own children.
Exactly.
Obviously, you know, even family, you know, because you kind of feel a bit entitled sometimes.
Yeah, because it's your family. But making sure that everyone in the photo wants to be online.
Yes.
And
so checking, maybe making an announcement before those engagements and saying, just letting you know, these photos will be going online. So if you have a problem, step aside.
Maybe just step out of the photo. So I think having an understanding of that, having the circle of trust. So who is it that you want to have in that circle of trust? You might have an album and you might just decide to share with people in the album. So decide who you want to actually share those photos with. So you don't have to in order to share your photos, you don't necessarily need to put them on social media. You can also just share them within a shared album amongst family, among people who are in that circle of trust.
Like having a select audience.
Exactly. So another one is to understand the settings. So when you do decide to share on social media, you can just share privately with a small group.
Yes.
Making sure other people understand that as well. So if your grandmother's just getting on Facebook for the first time, she might just share everything with the world.
I do have a lot of happy family members when it comes to sharing things online, and I think having those discussions with them is so important, which takes us back to that first step.
Yep. Also understanding your metadata.
Right.
So on
the what?
Metadata. So metadata is basically giving more information about an image online. So when you go into that metadata, you can see the time, the location, sometimes the GPS coordinates.
Yes.
If it's being shared on social media, you can see the IP address, which is the address where your computer is located.
Okay.
So you can either do a screenshot so that you get rid of that metadata, or you can use a program that totally wipes that metadata off. And the risk with this is that people can know exactly where your house is located using those GPS coordinates or where your kid is. And this also brings me to another point, is that being careful what's in the photo, because now you can zoom in so close and you can get really specific details. So even when you do that screenshot, it just lowers the resolution of those photos.
So being careful, I guess, if you're taking a photo outside of your house, just to, you know, make sure the letterbox is not there, or even the street sign.
Yeah, or even your license plate.
Yeah, okay, important.
So these are some tips that we can use to help keep our family safe online.
Thanks for those tips, Rach. I know that there's more tips on our magazine, the Mums at the Table magazine. To get your copy, just visit us at Mums at the Table. Check it out.
Okay, this is really hard to ask, but how do you know if your parenting is actually working? Now, Shona, you've got the benefit of hindsight. Your kids have moved out. You've gone through all of that. Did your parenting work?
Well, if you had asked me a couple of years ago, I would have probably said no.
Right, even just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because we were going through so much trouble with teenagers. But now they've moved out and we've got distance and we've had a bit of time. They actually come home every so often. Thankfully, it's only every so often. And they appreciate being at home. So, and I actually asked that question to the eldest son, you know, did we make good parents? Did we do what you thought?
And that's a scary question to ask.
It was, but I just wanted to know how he felt about my parenting. Because, you know, you question yourself as a mum. Am I doing the right stuff? Am I disciplining them right? Did I teach them all the things that I needed to teach them? Was there something different that I could have done? And he actually said, no, you were a good mum. You nurtured me the way I needed to be nurtured.
That's what we all want to hear.
So I got a big tick and I was like...
Because it's really hard. I feel like at my stage where the kids are quite young, it's actually hard to even become close to answering that question. I have seen so many kids who are absolute rats as kids, rats as teenagers, and then turned out absolutely beautifully, like their parents. Because, you know, hang on, they come from good stock.
Yeah.
But then you watch kids who are, you know, perfect and, you know, picture perfect, and then they might turn out and go sort of a different way. So it's hard to say at this stage, and you just go for the little wins where you can get them. So when your daughter comes up to you and hugs you and says, "Oh, I love you, Mum," like you just have to take those wins and hold on to them.
And treasure that while it's happening. And like you said, have the luxury of hindsight when you get older. But I think just be courageous in your parenting. And like I said to a friend of mine, be positive in your parenting. You've done the best that you can do. You've given them all the skills and the talents. And
that's it. You're doing the best you can, but you still carry the guilt that your best might not be good enough.
Stop comparing yourself to others.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. That comparison is just going to, you know, screw up where you think you're at in your parenting. And it's so easy to look at other kids and go, "Oh, they're so behaved, they're so this." But your kids are yours and they're so unique. That is it from us today on Mums at the Table. We'll catch you next time. Don't forget, we've got our magazine you can subscribe to too. So jump on our social media and have a look at that. Bye for now.